What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. It is the 1960s, and a teenager meets his friends at a local amusement park. 3 classic wooden coasters, 1 main midway, a bunch of games, and no admission price. And it's only about a 10-minute drive. A dance is hosted by the local radio station in the ballroom, and as the night goes on, he rides the biggest rides in the park, and then dances the night away. 55 years later, that same teenager is now telling his grandson all about those amazing memories. And as I hear stories like this, I have to say it makes me appreciate the smaller parks so much more. And as I go on my travels with my group, while we love to go to the bigger parks and ride the newest state-of-the-art coasters, we also love, and I mean love, to take out some of our time in between to go to some of the smaller parks, because at the end of the day, it's a different type of fun. Sure, there's no giga standout roller coaster by Intamin, B&M, RMC, but there's so much more that you could find at a local park that some of the bigger parks just don't have. So, this is Cedar Flags, and today, we are going to be looking at the beauty of the smaller, family-owned parks all across the world. So, before I get into the main part of this video, I just want to give you all a little bit of a disclaimer. I have no problem with bigger chain parks. After all, my name is Cedar Flags. Cedar Fair, Six Flags. 2 of the biggest chains in the world. The main reason I go on all these coaster trips is to ride the newest, world-class, state-of-the-art coasters at the biggest parks in the world. And I'm a massive fan of Intamin, B&M, and RMC just as much as the next enthusiast. I just feel like many enthusiasts don't appreciate the beauty of some of these smaller parks. All of these parks have so much more to offer, even though that their major credit is usually the only reason people go. So this video is just to talk about the beauty of these parks more than the actual credits themselves. Another thing I want to go over, this is not one of those born in the wrong generation videos. Yeah, the story at the beginning was the inspiration for the video, but at the same time, as an enthusiast that travels a lot, these are not just parks of the past. These are parks that all generations can share memories about, and so today, I want to get into the reasons why I absolutely love these parks, from their older thrills to their modern day spectacular attractions. Let's get into it. So I'm going to name 3 examples on why I absolutely love smaller parks, despite them not having the biggest coasters, but the first one might have the biggest difference between a smaller and a bigger park, at least the ones that I've been to. It is the environment. Now, going to larger parks, they are massive. I mean, me going to Cedar Point all the time, I really take for granted how absolutely massive this park is. It's a mile long. And with the midways, they're a lot wider. Everything's large, everything's big, everything's supposed to look spectacular. It doesn't really have that local feel. You have the trees and the landscaping all across these local parks. There's even paths that aren't even dedicated to rides that you could just walk through and admire the nature. And it feels more like an actual neighborhood park. In fact, some of these are actual parks. Look at Bay Beach as an example in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is an actual park owned by the city. Another thing I like about these smaller parks is the unique architecture. Now, I noted some notable examples. Going for an international example, look at all of Tivoli Gardens. This park looks absolutely magnificent, and when I talk about architecture, this might have the best in the world when it comes to the smaller parks. Other ones include Canopy Lake's entrance, which is absolutely stunning. And a good example of this, in my opinion, is Waldemere. Looking everywhere, you have retro carnival games, you have an arcade, and all of the buildings stand out in some sort of way. For my final example, boardwalk parks in general. They fit that oceanside aesthetic, and most of these are smaller family-owned parks. Even a park as large as Maury's has that family-owned feel. And some of these parks, like the boardwalk parks, you could just walk into them, and I think that is absolutely incredible. Up next, I want to talk about the rides. Now obviously, the bigger parks have the bigger rides. That's the main point. They tear down their older outdated rides and replace them with much larger and better coasters. But if you want a little bit of a feel for all generations and all eras, go to a classic park. I have a few notable examples for this. The first is Waldemere. Remember when I was talking about those vibrant buildings? Well, some of them are very interesting rides. One of them is the Wacky Shack. This is an extremely unique dark ride that I just love. It puts a huge smile on my face, and you could tell that this is at a smaller park. Now, my main example here is Knoebels. They have the only permanent standing looper left in the country, a very unique flat ride. They also have a very interesting flyer model. Now, you have these all over the world, but this one is different. The motor that controls the ride spins much faster than usual, and you can go absolutely soaring. One of my favorite examples of this is Satellite, which is a roloplane, and it may be my favorite flat ride in the park due to its incredible laterals. And finally, who can forget Flying Turns? This used to be at many family-owned smaller amusement parks back in the day, but has since been faded out. This is a very fun ride, and it really gives you that retro feel. Another example I want to look at is Canopy Lake Park. This park has two flat rides that I never thought I'd get on in my life, a rotor and a caterpillar. Yep, a classic caterpillar that actually covers the trains. Now, finally, I want to mention a category of flat rides that I only see at the smaller parks, or the very, very, very small chain parks like Great Escape. This is the Indoor Scrambler. These rides are crazy. A newer example of this is Centrifuge at Casino Pier, and yeah, you would not be able to have these at bigger parks. This is, well, to put simply, one of the craziest rides I have ever been on in my life. The queue starts off very cool, it looks like a madhouse, and then you get into this massive dark room with a scrambler, you sit down, and as you start spinning, the lights turn off, the strobe lights turn on, and you hear some of the craziest, loudest punk music you've ever heard. We were spinning at uncontrollable speeds, and it's absolutely insane. And by the way, if there's profanity, you're gonna hear it. Other examples of these include a ride like Astrosphere at Funtown in Maine, and even though it's not as extreme, it's definitely a lot more interesting. You have projections of aliens, they have a lot of fun with it. Alrighty, it's slide POV time. Whoa! For our final category, we are going to look at the fact that smaller parks are a lot less stressful. Now, if you've been on a major roller coaster road trip near the end, you could definitely relate to this category. You go to the bigger parks to ride the best, most thrilling rides, but you go to the smaller parks to have a fun, carefree day. The smaller park equals way less walking, and so while you're at major parks running from 1 mile to the next, here, you're just taking a nice gentle stroll. Instead of world-class thrills, it's the cute little carnival rides that are in the same midways along with the games. Another reason why it's a lot less stressful is the fact that the lines will probably be shorter, with exceptions like Six Flags Great Adventure being absolutely dead and Knoebels being absolutely packed. This is usually not the case. And finally, we're probably going to get to one of the most important categories of the video, the fact that they are cheaper. They are much cheaper than some of the bigger parks. While some of the parks in Orlando will charge over $100, if you want to go to Fun Spot, it's going to cost you less than $50. It is a great exchange, and even though you don't have as much, you really get what you paid for. Well, Disney is at this point over $100. Anyways, let me know what you think of smaller parks. Like I said, I am an absolutely massive fan of them. That's why I made this video after all. What is your favorite small park? I don't really know what mine would be. Either Maurice Piers, Waldemere, or Knoebels. So let me know what yours is. Until next time, this is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later. Hey Rudolph.
Hello.
It works.
I sure do.
Okay. Out of all of them, who's your favorite other reindeer?
Viction's pretty cool.
Let me scream. Watch this. The spider is on its own train. In all the parks I have ever been to, I have never seen something like that be done. Oh no, he's going into the pirate's den.